y'all, this is Jennifer from Southern Junk Chic. Happy Halloween! Today is October 31st, and as promised yesterday, I said I would come on and show you how to patina using the copper and the iron. And then here is the example of the signs that I used. Here's the copper with the blues and the greens on a metal sign, but you can use the patina, use the copper and iron on anything, on wood, whatever, because it activates with the metal paint. Hey Barbara, here's the rust, what it looks like. So I was going to show you how I did this using these metal signs. So we are in, Music City, of course, Nashville, Tennessee. So these are really popular. They sell well in my booths. Let me move my table down. And so I thought that I would show you. Happy Halloween! Everybody has them. I bought them because they were unique at one time. Now, I've seen them in a couple of other booths, and they still sell very well. But I wanted to see maybe how I could make them look a little bit different. So I'm going to show you products. I'll be using Funky Cold Patina products, and this is by Vintage Thai Decor, Joni Sagara. And but you could use any, it's the same concept using any patina product. You can also use Modern Masters has their products too, and they have for copper, their products look like this, and you buy it separately. Sometimes you can buy it all together as a kit, but the products are in separate bottles. So you get your metal paint, whatever, it's iron, copper, or bronze, and then the patina, the activator or the reactor, they call it the aging solution, but it's what activates the metals or reacts with the metals that are in the paints and causes the aging effect, causes the copper to turn the green blue color, causes the iron to turn the rusty color, rusty orange, black color, and the bronze takes the longest time. So if you use the bronze, just keep that in mind, that it takes a really long time, and I say really long time, 24 hours-ish for it to start turning and get the full effect, but the copper and the iron are immediate. So, and sometimes if you are doing like galvanized tin or metal, you'll need to get a primer, and they also sell that, but this metal is powder coated with paint, so I am not using it, and I haven't noticed that what it does if you don't put the primer down, if you're putting it right on top of metal, is that it will keep eating through and reacting, and it will eat through and make a hole in it. And if you want that, perfect. But if you don't, like if you want to put it in a bucket or that you're going to put plants in or something like that you don't want a hole in or a sign on your wall, just keep that in mind. So on these signs, I use a paintbrush to paint on the metal paint, and you can see my brush strokes. So I'm going to do that today, but I'm also going to show you some other ways that you can apply the metal paints just to see. We're going to see, total experiment, but I'm going to use some sea sponges, and you can get these at any hobby store. And then I also have a silk sponge that I got on Amazon, and it's just a very it's not like your regular kitchen sponge. It's a little bit finer, and it doesn't leave as much imprint on whatever you're doing. So that's what I'm going to be using today, in addition to the paintbrushes. So and I have two signs, and I'm going to put copper on one, and iron on the other. And on the iron, I may add a little bit of the copper because I like that green effect. And I'm going to use both the green and the blue activators. And the blue is really blue. It may not be for you, but I like it. And then Joni at Vintage Tide Decor has one more, and it's an electric blue one, and she said it's almost like a Tiffany blue. So, you know, there's a third option, but the green activator is the most common, and Modern Masters also has a blue activator, so you can get these at your specialty paint stores. And I think at Michael's and Hobby Lobby, you can probably get the kit. But what you want to make sure that you mix up the paint really well, both colors, because the metals tend to settle at the bottom of the paint jar, so you get a workout. So I'm gonna shake these really quickly, and you can use like a stir stick if you want to, but I don't have one. Yes, I do. Let me get one real quick, because I know the iron, I really needed to stir it. And it can be anything, you know, I'm so notorious for using the bamboo skewers, just because I bought a whole bunch of them. But on this little bottle, I'm just going to shake it up. And Joni has a kit, and I think you have to be in her group. You'll have to message her to see, but what I just do is pour it out on a plate, just a little bit, just what you think you might use. And this is the copper. And so I'm going to wait on the iron while I do the copper. But I'm going to try the copper. And what I do when I use a sponge is I mist it with water. So have your misting water or whatever. You can have a spray bottle, but these misters are really handy. So just get it damp, just a little damp where you can feel, no squeezing any water out, but just a little bit like that. So you can see this one. All right. So this already has some paint on it. So what I'm going to do is just try to highlight instead of painting it on like I did with this one and the copper one, is I'm going to just dip my sponge just a little bit into the copper, just the metal coating, the copper metal coating paint. And just gonna sponge it on where, now remember the copper is gonna turn like the blue-green color. So I'm just gonna try to make it look like it was natural. And this sign hangs with a nail right here and here. So it's gonna hang like at an angle this way. So I don't know if you wanna keep that in mind as you're working on whatever it is that you are, you know, to see how it might hang on the wall or whatever. But I don't know. And I'm gonna paint some on this too, but this is just the first pass. And I know on Modern Masters and on Joni's it says to put on one coat and then let it dry and then go back and add a second coat, and then before that coat dries, spray on your reactor. And I have found, and I don't know, that maybe just because I've only worked on these metal signs, that you don't have to really put 2 coats. I think that's more of the paint company wanting to make sure that the product actually worked. But to me, the product is not super cheap. It's not real expensive, but I don't want to, if I don't have to go over it twice, I'm not going to. So just keep that in mind as you're painting whatever, and maybe do a sample or a tester area. Okay, I'm gonna stand up now and use my paintbrush and paint on a little bit. So I have found that you only need to paint it on, but you do have to hit it with your spray reactor before it dries out. So don't have a fan blowing on you or anything like that. And I'm just doing this to see how it's going to look with the sponge, because I haven't tried that before. Because with my other ones, like I said, I just painted it on with a paintbrush, and you can see the strokes, and that's okay. But I also want it to look more natural. So I may like drag some this way. But not do it all over like I did on the other ones. And kind of blend in where some of the sponge spots are, just so it's not so unnatural. Not that it is. So I'm done with this. I want to see, you can always go back and add more. So if you don't think you got enough the first time, you can totally go back and add more of your metal paint. So I'm going to move all my stuff out of the way because I don't want to get any reactor. You need to make sure you read all the precautions and safety measures before you use it. They want you to wear a mask and gloves if you get messy, because it will stain your hands. And not so much just the paint, but if you accidentally get the reactor on your hands where you already have the paint, it's going to react. And it won't hurt you, but it will be hard to get off. So just keep that in mind. So kind of, but this is the messy part, the spray bottle. So I just kind of missed it. And Joni gives you a spray bottle, and Modern Masters, they give you a bottle like this, and you have to put it in your own spray bottle. So here's a tip, be careful, because I put it in a spray bottle, not a mister, I put it in a spray bottle. And sometimes on the spray bottles, they have a metal spring that helps the spray bottle pump. So if you have a spray bottle that has a metal spring on it, it's gonna rust. So you can put it in there just for the time that you need it. And that's with Modern Masters, because they don't give you a spray bottle. So you will have to pour it back in the Modern Masters bottle. And I found that out the hard way, because then I thought I could just leave it in there and it wouldn't spray anymore. And that was why I opened it up and saw that it had already started rusting. So that's why I wouldn't pour this down your drain, because if it rusted that spring, and not everybody has metal pipes, but so it depends on the building that you live in. Most people have PVC pipes for their drains. So I just put this on, just kind of saturate all the areas where you added. You don't need to put tons, but I do, just because I think if a little is good, a lot is better. But just as an experiment, I'm going to mist a part of it with water, because I saw somebody do one where they, it looked like the whole area was just like water, different color water. So I don't know how they did that. So I'm experimenting, trying. So I'm just going to do this end and put some water and then go back and spray. I don't know how they did it. But what I did do is, after I sprayed the reactor on the other signs that I did, I went back with my paintbrush when it was wet and where the reactor was. I kind of lightly drug it across it like I was dry brushing, and that added some little pops of like the rust and the patina was starting in different areas. So just play around with it. You can follow the directions the first time, but then after that, just kind of play around with it and see what different kinds of looks you can get, and add different amounts of, you know, the copper and the iron. So, but also keep in mind that when you touch your paint to the reactor, you need to wipe it off, because just so you don't go back and contaminate your paint that you're pulling from, because it will do that. I did that. So that is it on the copper. So then you just let it sit, let it do its thing. And it's already starting to react. Let's see. Right in here, it's turning a little bit. But it doesn't take long. So maybe 30 minutes before you start really seeing dramatic. So I'm gonna kind of scoot this over out of the way, and then I'm gonna do the iron on this one. So just make sure you remember which brush you use for what, unless you want to mix it. And on this one, I think I'm going to mix it because I love the copper. The copper is so cool. And oh, so here's the blue. I'm going to add a little bit of the blue to the copper just to give it just something. The blue is a little more, and it may be just this mister, it's a little more spotty. You can see it. Let's see. So you can see the splotches, and it's dripping. So that's kind of, and you can turn it that way if you want to get drippy marks. Whatever. It's all in what you want to do. I'm going to drop some of my reactor. I've gotten everywhere. So now I'm going to do, now I noticed that, so the copper metal really looked copper. The iron is like a dull blackish gray color. Not very pretty, but it's darker. So when you put it on, it doesn't blend in as, I don't know, it just looks different. You'll see. You'll see. So it's kind of like a dark gray color. I'm going to use a different paintbrush and a different, still going to try the sea sponge, the natural sponge, and give it a little bit wet, not dripping wet, but enough where you can squeeze it with ease. And I'm just going to work out of the container of this one. So I'm just going to get a little bit on my sponge and just kind of dab it so you can see. It's a little, can you see? It's a little more noticeable. And this is going to turn like this wherever you put the gray paint. So I don't know. I'm trying to make it look more natural versus the brush strokes. I mean, I love, this looks really cool in person though. So trying to, where would rust naturally occur? And I want to make it totally different. And the reason I'm doing this is because everybody has these signs. And I say everybody, you know, a lot of other people are retailing these signs in their antique booths. So I want mine to look a little bit different from everybody else's. And these are, it's kind of like a stamped, it's got Tennessee license plate, Alabama, Georgia. So it's a cool memento to have and hang on your wall, Texas. So I still want the original paint that's on here to show through. So I'm not totally covering it, but you know, almost am. So that's all I'm going to use for the sponge. I'm going to take a little bit of a brush just to drag some paint across and just get like you're dry brushing something, because you just want to just lightly, I want to try for my brush strokes not to show on these. And then I'm trying to make the sea sponge, if I see I have a repeat pattern, try to blend that a little bit where it doesn't look so much like I tried to do it like a faux finish. But that's what this really is. So. And this one, it started turning when I did it the other day pretty quickly. And I'll show you the copper's already starting to turn too. So, let's see. All right, let me put the lid back on this, because you don't want any of the reactor to get in your paint, because it'll start turning your paint. So you use the same reactor, you use the same green and the same blue, and it will just cause it to turn different shades. So I'm gonna spritz just, I don't love these squirt bottles because I'm used to the mister bottle now, and it, you don't have as much control. So I'm just covering the areas that I painted with the iron paint. And again, if you see anything that you want to smear around, you still have some paint on your brush, you can go back through and do that, and it kind of clumps it up and just leaves, like, it clumps up so it leaves like chunks of the paint, so then it will start reacting just in that one little area. I noticed that, and I really like that. So now I'm just going to use a little bit of the blue just to see what it will do. Not as much. I like the green. You can tell I use a lot more of the green than I do the blue. And then I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the other one. I'm going to mist this with water just to see if I get like a pooling effect with the green patina, to see if it will like bleed out and color the whole area. I don't know. I don't know if it'll do that, but I'm going to try. I don't know if it is or not. I'll have to investigate. So it's starting to turn. Watching paint dry, isn't that funny? So I'm gonna move you down just a tinge so you can see both of the metal signs to see how they are reacting. And you can see the copper, where we put the copper paint, is already starting to react. The iron takes a little bit longer, but it's starting to react down in this area. But you can see, let me get a wet wipe. Sorry, I might have to go in front of the camera. But the copper, I think, is going to look good. I'm going to try to zoom you in. So you can see how the copper, and it's only been a few minutes, and the copper is already reacting with the blue and the green. And then here's where I saturated it, so that may take, I don't know what that's gonna do. It does make it, it's pooling right there, so it might make an odd little copper impression there. But I really like how it's spotty versus how I did the sign over here, and you can see the paintbrush strokes. So here is with the sea sponge where you're getting randomness. So really it depends on what you want. Now if you're painting a large flat surface, you may want to, if you have a large flat surface, you may want to paint it on, but with this metal sign, I wanted it to look more random. So here the, I'm going to zoom you in so you can see the iron. It's starting to look a little orangey rusty right in here, but it takes a little bit longer. The copper is a little bit faster to react, but we also painted it first, so that may just be what's going on there. I'll keep it. So that's it. That's all there is to it. Now, if you find that you get to whatever point you want with the iron, now the copper will just stop on its own. It will finish reacting, and that's it. You don't have to top coat it, put anything else on it. It's done. You are finished and good to go. You don't it doesn't but it depends on if it's a I did a buffet with a hammered metal faux finish, and I did the copper patina on the top of the buffet, and I didn't read the instructions, which is most of the time, before I top coated it, and I wanted it to have like a glossy top coat, and so I put that on there. Well, it takes off some of the copper patina because it had started hazing. It was so cool. And you can look back in my pictures and see a picture of it. And so I just redid the top of it. If you mess up, you can totally paint over whatever it is. Or if you see like, oh, I want to add some more copper right here because all the other letters have copper and this one doesn't, just take your paintbrush and take a little bit of the copper paint and just start touching it right there. Just go back over it and spray some more reactor. It's totally fixable. And then if you don't like how it looks, you can just paint on top of it. Especially if it's a piece of furniture, you can just paint on top of it and start all over again. Now with the metal signs, I wanted to keep some of the color. These were already painted, so you can do that too. But with the iron, if you get to a certain point where it's turning, like with this sign, and you're like, oh, because it does have darker shades and lighter orangey rusty colors. And so if you get to a certain point where you're like, oh, I like where it is, I don't want it to turn anymore, with the iron, you can spray it with a mixture of a couple of tablespoons of baking soda mixed in with one of your mister bottles. So maybe to like 2 cups of water or 3 cups of water, and then you would spray your iron piece that you have your reactor on, and it stops the reaction. So it'll stop the color from changing any more than it already is. But I like to just let's see where it's going to go. And then with the iron, if you want to add black, you can go back and add some black paint to it to touch it up, to get some darker shades of I don't know if on this side you can see anything, but you know where it has the darker black shades, you can just go back with black paint and add it on. So that's it. It's as simple as that, to use the patina. And I think, to me, it took me forever to try it because I was so scared, and it has all these warning labels, highly corrosive and all of this stuff. You need good ventilation, and you really do, but it's not going to eat away the skin on your hands. It didn't with me. Now each person is different. You may have if you have any allergies or things like that, then try a little sampler before you pull out all of the product full blown on a surface. But it has been so fun and so easy. So that is it. And let me turn up the camera and show you the products once again that I used. So for this, let me get my head, sorry. I could be the headless painter for Halloween. That's funny. Okay, there we go. So for this, I used the Funky Coal Patina, the copper metal coating, and the iron metal coating. Now you can also use Modern Masters. They have their own version of the Patina products, and they're copper. I've used that. It's really cool. And I have their blue, but I couldn't find it. So this is the green solution, and it comes in a bottle like this, so you have to put it in your own spray bottle. With Joni, she gives you the spray bottle, and you can get her sampler kit, which comes in a 4-ounce bottle, or you can get the 8-ounce bottle of her products. And it comes in iron, copper, and bronze. Now the bronze is really cool, but it does take longer, so keep that in mind. And you can apply it with anything really, paper towel, whatever, but just know your however you apply it may show through. So if you paint it on, your brush strokes are going to show through. So try to stipple it, use a sea sponge, or whatever, however you have applied paint products before for a faux finish, try that, and to make it look natural. You know, this, I painted it on with the paintbrush. You can see my paint strokes, and it's okay, because I was just experimenting, but it does look much cooler in person. It looks real, and it looks rusty. It is so cool. And these were powder coated signs, so I didn't put any base down, but if you're using sheet metal or galvanized tin or something like that, just know that you may want to put down a primer or put down a top coat, just something to protect that metal, because the activator will just keep on going. It'll eat through the, you know, your metal paint that you're putting on, and it doesn't know the difference between your metal paint versus your metal product, so it will just go through that. So you may need a primer. I haven't used one yet, but I haven't done any just straight metal that wasn't already painted. So, all right, I'm gonna zoom in and let you see what the signs look like, but otherwise that is it. So happy painting. I hope you try it. You will love it, I promise. This is the copper, and I used the green and the blue patina, mixed them together. The green will be perfect. The blues give you a little bit of tones of blues. Let me zoom in so you can see. But I love it. It looks really, I think it's going to look really natural when it gets done. And then here is the iron, and it is starting to turn orangey rusty color right in here in this little area. And I may go back and add a little bit more, because the paint that was already on it is a little bit dark, so I don't know, you know, and I'm so impatient. I don't like to wait on it to activate, and it doesn't really take long. With, you know, maybe an hour, you'll start seeing where things are going to happen, so you know, then you can go back if you missed a spot or whatever. It is totally to me forgiving, because you can add more and take away. So that's it. It's that simple. So I hope you try the patina. If you do, if you're watching the replay, give me a thumbs up and let me know if you like it. And if you're gonna try it, I can connect you with Joni if you want to try the Funky Cold Patina products, or you can purchase your Modern Masters at any high-end paint store, or Michael's or Hobby Lobby may have a different brand kit that you can buy. So I hope you have a happy Halloween. This is the end of my 30 days of live for October, so I know you're gonna miss me so much. I'm gonna try to do at least 2 lives a week. So I'm going to try to come on Tuesdays to give you some Tuesday tips, and then Fridays for Friday's finds. So if I am out junking, I'll show you whatever I'm doing or whatever I'm painting on. So that's my new schedule for November. So happy Halloween, be safe, and eat lots of candy, but not if you're diabetic. So y'all have fun. Thanks for watching.